In this video, you're going to learn about logical and or operators. These are going to give us a lot more power and flexibility when we set up our if statements. These logical operators are going to allow us to chain together multiple comparison operators to create a more complex condition. Right now, all of our conditions check just a single thing. Is the account locked? Is the user role an admin? Is the temperature less than or equal to 32 degrees? But there are plenty of situations where we might want to have two or more different comparison operators chained together. For example, we might want to check if the user's account is locked and they are an admin. Notice that sentence had two different things we wanted to check. The first one is that the user's account is locked, and the second one is that the user is an admin. In that case, we might tell them they need to contact support since they can't contact their admin. They are the admin. So let's go ahead and figure out exactly why these operators are useful and how they work by going through some examples. Over here, a brand new file, logical-and-or.js. And in here, we're going to start with a single input, something we've explored before, a temperature. Let temp equal, and we're going to pick a temp like 65 degrees. For this example, let's say we're trying to alert the user when it's really nice out, and we're going to quantify really nice out as between 60 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Right now, we don't have a good way to get that done. And I specifically said good way because we could hack together a solution. I could say if, and then I could add one of the two conditions in here, if the temperature is greater than or equal to 60. Obviously, the code right here would run for a lot of temperatures where it's not in that range, like 120, for example. So how do we fix that? We add another if statement. If the temperature is less than or equal to 90. Now, in this set of curly braces right here, we're going to be able to add some code that runs when the temperature is in that range. So for 65, is this condition true? Yes. So this code runs. Then we run our other condition. Is 65 less than 90? Yes, it is. So this code runs, and that's where we could say it's really nice out. For a temperature like 120, this condition would still pass, so we would run this code. This condition, though, would fail, so we would never run the code that says it's really nice out. Now this setup could work, but if we wanted to run some code when it wasn't nice out, we would have to add an else onto here and onto here, and that's going to create code that's really complex and not friendly to work with. So we're going to scratch all of that and figure out how we can do this with a single if statement and the logical and operator. Down below, let's set up that if statement. If our condition, our code block to execute when the condition passes. Now let's set up the condition right here. We're going to start off with the first comparison operator we had. We checked if the temperature was greater than or equal to 60 degrees. Now with the logical and or operators, we have something on the left-hand side and we have something on the right-hand side. The symbol for the operator goes in the middle. The symbol for the logical and operator is 2 ampersands. That is Shift 7 on your keyboard, just like this. So we have the left-hand side, we have the logical and operator, and now we're going to set up the right-hand side, which would be the other check we had. If the temperature is less than or equal to 90. Now down here, we can run some code, and this code is only going to execute if we're in that range. So console.log, it is pretty nice out. Before we explore exactly how this AND operator works, let's go ahead and just run the program. I'm going to save the file in its current state. With a temperature of 65, I would expect the message to print node logical and or.js, and the message does indeed print. If I switched this up to something like 55, I would expect the message to not print. And if I rerun the script, that's exactly what we get. So let's figure out exactly what's going on right here. The logical AND operator has a Boolean on both sides of it. So over here, we know this resolves to a Boolean. The temperature is either greater than or equal to 60 or it's not. And we know this resolves to a Boolean. The temperature is either less than or equal to 90 or it's not. So in the end of the day, the logical AND operator has a Boolean on both sides. If both sides have a Boolean value of true, the whole thing resolves to true. The condition passes and the code runs. If either side has a value of false, then the whole thing resolves to false and the code doesn't run. So imagine I was giving some instructions to my child. You need to eat your vegetables and clean your room if you want to watch TV. It's not enough to just do one of those. Based off of the way I said that, you have to do both. You have to eat your vegetables and you have to clean your room if you're going to watch TV. If you do one and not the other, that's not enough. And the same thing is true here. If both sides are true, the whole thing is true. Otherwise, it's false. Let's outline that. True if both sides are true. False otherwise. So in the case of 55, this is indeed true, this is indeed false, and that is why we did not see the message showing up. Now let's explore the logical OR operator. So take that same sentence I said before and just put OR there instead of AND. You can watch TV if you eat your vegetables or you clean your room. So in that case, you only have to do one of the things in order to get the result you want. So we can go ahead and break that out with another example. Let's say we want to print a message when it's dangerous to go outside. And we will say it's dangerous to go outside if the temperature is less than 0 degrees or it's greater than 120. So we have if, we have our condition, we have the code to run, and we'll just add a little message right here. Console.log do not go outside. Excellent. So what is the condition going to look like? Well, we're still going to have the two comparison operators. Is the temperature less than or equal to 0 degrees? And the other one would be, is the temperature greater than or equal to 120? What we put in the middle, though, is going to change. Instead of 2 ampersands, it's 2 vertical bars. You can access those by using Shift followed by the key just above the Enter key on your keyboard. Now we're using the logical OR operator, and as long as one of the sides is true, the whole thing resolves to true. So let's play around with this. I am going to save the file in its current state with a temperature of 55. Is this going to be true? No. Is this going to be true? No. Neither side is true, so I would expect the message to not print. Right here, what do I get? I get nothing. Now let's try a temperature like 150 degrees. In that case, is this true? No. Is this true? Yes. As long as one side is true, the whole thing resolves to true and our code runs. We could also have a situation where both sides are true. Not for this example, since there would be no number that's less than 0 and greater than 120, but we'll explore other examples a bit later in the course. Let's go ahead and outline that right here. Logical OR operator. True if at least one side is true, false otherwise. Now that we have 150 set up, we can save the script. I can run it from the terminal and we get do not go outside showing up. We can also convert these to using if, else if, and else if we wanted to. So for example, I could delete those lines and put else right here. Now we have, if we fall under this range, print this message. Otherwise, let's see if it's a dangerous temperature, print this message. And then I could add something like an else right onto the end to say console.log. And let's just go ahead and say, do what you want. So now we have these 3 situations using logical and logical OR. Let's go ahead and switch back to one of those mediocre temperatures like 55 degrees and run the program just to make sure it works as expected. Right here, what do we get? We get, do what you want. Go outside, don't go outside, who really cares? So in this case, we check these first. If those pass, we run this. Otherwise, we check these. If those pass, we run this. Otherwise, we run this, printing the message that we just saw. So this is something that we're going to be using over and over again, but I do want to make sure that you at least understand the basics by diving into a quick challenge. Down below, let's go ahead and create a challenge area where you're going to need to use the logical AND operator along with the logical OR operator in an if statement similar but not exactly the same as the one up above. Imagine you're creating a restaurant reservation system, and when you make your reservation using this system, you specify for each guest whether or not they're vegan. So if me and my wife were going out to dinner, I could say that she is vegan and I'm not vegan, for example. So in the end of the day, we're going to have two Boolean values. Let is guest 1 vegan equal a Boolean, let's say true, and then let is guest 2 vegan, and we'll go ahead and say false. Now this reservation system is going to print a little message to the hostess who seats you, and it's going to specify what options they should offer up. So let's go ahead and explore some of the different messages that might end up printing. I'm going to type these out in comments. It's going to be your job to set up the conditional logic to actually get them printing. So the first option, are both vegan? If both are vegan, we only want to offer up vegan food. So we can print a message like only offer up vegan dishes. Excellent. Now there are other situations as well. What if we have a situation where at least one guest is vegan? At least one vegan. If at least one is vegan, if I'm vegan and my wife isn't, I want to offer up a little bit of both. We'll offer up some vegan dishes as well as some non-vegan options. And for that situation, we could print a message, make sure to offer up some vegan options. And the last situation would just be else. If they're not both vegan and not one of them is vegan, then that means neither of them are vegan. And in this case, we'll just offer up anything on the menu. Offer up anything on the menu. It's going to be your job to use the logical and or operators to create a three-part if statement. If, else if, and else. Take as much time as you need to get this done and use the code above as an example. You're going to print those three messages and then you're going to test your work. When you have two vegan guests, you should see the first message. In a situation like this, where you have at least one, you should see that second message. And finally, if neither are vegan, you should see the third message. Take a moment to pause the video, knock this one out, test those three situations by running the file 3 different times, and when you're done, you can go ahead and click play. How'd that one go? Hopefully you were able to make some progress on this. I'm going to kick things off with the first situation. Are both vegan? If, right here, our condition, the code to run. In the condition, is guest 1 vegan? These are already Booleans, so I can just type out the variable name. And is guest 2 vegan? And there we go. We set up the conditional logic for that first situation. And we're going to print our little message, console.log. Only offer up vegan dishes. Excellent. Now let's move on to the other situation. Else if another condition, another piece of code to run. In this condition, we're going to check if at least one of them is vegan, and we can use the logical OR operator to get that done. Right here, is guest 1 vegan? Or is guest 2 vegan? As long as one of them are, we'll print this message, console.log. Make sure to offer up some vegan options. Excellent. The last situation is what comes under the else clause. If both of them aren't vegan and not one of them is vegan, that means neither of them are. And right here, console.log will print the last message. Offer up anything on the menu. Excellent. So here we have it. This was the challenge. Now let's go ahead and actually test that we did it correctly. In this situation, I have one who's a vegan and one who's not, so I should get that second message. If I save the script and rerun it, I get make sure to offer up some vegan options, which is correct. If they're both vegan, I should get that first message. If I rerun the script, Offer up only vegan dishes, that is correct. Lastly, if neither of them are vegan. False up above, false down below. In that case, they could eat anything on the menu, including the vegan dishes, and we print the message, offer up anything on the menu. So there we have it. Using the logical and logical or operators, we're able to chain together two comparison operators to create more complex conditional logic. That's where we're going to stop for this one. I'll see you in the next video where we continue exploring the basics of the JavaScript language.